Welcome everybody to the Streakers On podcast. I don't know why I turned off loop and it looped. It was a whole thing. But it is I, Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst. And we all know we love a little sports talk with the analyst. And I am joined by Key and More for Your Money.
Woo!
So we had some surprises this Saturday, yesterday, the day before today. And I got to say, we all thought Edmonton was going to win that game when Edmonton went up by 2 scores. Nick Arbuckle's injured. But then, you know what? You get the... Actually, I'm going to say this right off the hop here. I feel bad for Cody Fajardo. I felt he made one mistake that whole game, and the one mistake cost him the game.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't feel bad for him at all, and I never will. And I hope he gets sold for ransom for Calgary to be a part of the Mountains.
Oh, boy. Okay.
The problem is, though, and no disrespect, but if Trey Ford was in there, that game wouldn't even be close. Like, Fajardo, I do think, is the future guy in Edmonton. And I think, if anything, Edmonton's got to look into locking him down for next season.
Oh, I totally agree.
I'm just so angry that I'm trying to forget we even exist.
No, in all honesty, it's a tough loss for Edmonton. And it's a game they should have had. Right? They created 6 turnovers, 4 interceptions, 2 turnovers on downs. In Arbuckle's defense, I think he was hurt that entire game. I don't think he just got injured on that play. I think he was limping after BC. He was limping in Hamilton, and then he limped in this previous game. But what's more interesting is the drama that proceeded after the game.
Yeah, it was nuts. How's the business up?
Fights between the 2 benches. Ryan Dimwitty in the post game talked about players and coaches from the Elks chirping them and says he hopes they have a nice off season. And which that's a little ballsy to say when your records are pretty much dead even. But and Jared Dagey with they cut me because remember he was the Elks quarterback. He was one of the Elks quarterbacks last year, but. The end of the day, the Toronto Argonauts are finding ways to win games when earlier in the year they couldn't win a game if their life depended on it. Now you've won 3 straight. Yes, Montreal did win, which is a shock, and we'll get more into that Montreal game in a little bit, but Montreal did win. But Montreal's only won 2 of their last 7. Toronto's has won 3 in a row. And all of a sudden, they're right there in the playoffs.
Yeah, technically Toronto's third in the East at the moment. It's just that with the wonderful Canadian Football League, it doesn't mean anything because there is a crossover situation. So technically, BC and Winnipeg would get that 3rd spot. Well, one of those teams will get the 3rd spot in the East instead of Toronto. But, Toronto's only like 1 win away from getting a playoff spot, which we did not predict a few weeks ago.
No, and I think 4 teams like Toronto, and I'm going to put Edmonton and Ottawa all in those conversations. Considering how bad they started, it's impressive that Toronto, Ottawa, and Edmonton are all in a playoff hunt right now.
Yeah.
Considering the start of the year, let's be honest, it was pretty grim in all 3 of these cities. Right. And all of a sudden, you know what? Both teams of Edmonton has now won, 5 of their last 7? Or something along those lines. And Toronto's won 3 straight. Ottawa, okay, they did lose to BC this week, but they beat BC last week in a real surprise. Even with Dustin Crum in there, they're finding ways to put up points and win games. And look, I got to say this. I think those franchises, even if this season doesn't work out for them, which I'm not saying any of them are eliminated because, they're not, right? But you know what I mean? Like, all these teams are still right in the hunt.
Oh, they are 100%. Like anything can happen when Timothy goes to school, right? And we're going to see that in the last few weeks in the CFL season here. I mean, with a 9-team league, all teams are very even. All the records are very even. Besides the Saskatchewan, we're not really seeing one team pull away. And even with the loss to Saskatchewan last night, Calgary only has 1 more loss than Saskatchewan, right? So I mean, anything can happen.
Well, honestly, I believe actually Saskatchewan. I think Saskatchewan's 4 points ahead of Calgary, not 2. But
yeah, but 4 points ahead, but we've only got 1 loss. Like Calgary's 8-2, Saskatchewan 8-4. Hey, boys.
Lane. Lane, we miss you. We love you. And we respect you. Another one. Anyone knows the DJ Khaled reference. But
you know what I hope is that it's Toronto and Hamilton that locks it in. Of course, I hope that my EE can get in the crossover. But honestly, if it's you guys ending up in second place at the end, which I could very well see, I think it's gonna be you guys going to the Grey Cup because Hamilton is so shaky. They're every time they win a game, they're winning by like less than that amount of luck.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I think Hamilton's basically a good thing for Hamilton is I think they've basically locked up first in the East. I would be
in the most shaky way possible, though.
But I do agree with you. Hamilton is shaky, but I mean the beautiful thing is for them is they're going to get more than likely they're going to get the Eastern Final in Hamilton. Although they haven't been great at home this year, surprisingly enough. But I mean,
that's a shocker.
You can't. I mean, going to the Ticat fans will get behind that team, and it'll be a big test for them. But what I'm very surprised.
Quickly, we just gotta say rest in peace to Ted Fair, the general manager of the Ticats organization. He was a true CFL football legend. He also coached the Argos a little bit. Great human being, and we lost a life way too young there. He's only 55 years old. He lost his battle of cancer on Friday morning there. I don't think we've had a chance to acknowledge it here on the island yet, so rest in peace.
I will say in Hamilton, they did a very nice ceremony for him at that Hamilton Ticats.
They did.
They did. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
But I want to swing it a little bit over to the Montreal game, and then we'll kind of look at the standings as a whole. All of a sudden, Montreal remembered how to play football.
Yeah.
Lots of changes into the lineup, including getting McLeod Buffalo Thompson back, which maybe just shows Montreal with a decent quarterback can do some damage. Now, mind you, Saskatchewan also had 2 rookie corners, which I think was a huge reason for that. But the score ended 48-31.
Yeah.
But I mean, this game was Montreal just dominated the first half.
They did, yeah. 100%.
The second quarter, they outscored 28-10 in the first half.
Yeah, it was painful to watch. I was shocked it was such a big upset like that. I thought it was going to be a shootout upset. I thought it was going to go the other way, to be honest. I thought Saskatchewan was going to dominate, get over.
Everyone thought that, to be honest.
Well, let's be honest, really too. Did. Trevor Harris played mediocre at best.
Yeah.
23 for 32, 252, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Jake Mayer came in for the end and went 6 for 10, 118, a touchdown and an interception. And truthfully, his interception was not on him. He threw it right in the receiver's hand, and the receiver literally just handed it to the Montreal player. It was kind of pathetic.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, Tommy Stevens with a fumble, and I thought it was very peculiar after his fumble. Then the last short yardage touchdown they got was with AJ Ouellette under center. Thought that was bizarre. I think maybe it's catching up to Saskatchewan that, you know what, they just don't have enough talented receivers. I mean, Joe had his best game since he's came back to the CFL with 95 yards on 8 catches.
Yeah, he played very well.
But my bigger concern is you let McLeod Buffalo Thompson go 20 for 26, 379 yards and 3 touchdowns. You had Steven Scott III, who is their third string running back, 19 carries, 125 yards. Wow. Tyson Philpott, 238 yards as a receiver. Like, you cannot fully blame 2 rookie corners for all this disaster. I blame Corey Mace. I think there were some brutal coaching decisions in that game, which cost them this game. I thought to not start to double team Tyson Philpott and tell MBT to go somewhere else, to me, is mind-boggling. I felt like I was watching Toronto Hamilton when Kenny Lawler put up 210 and 3 TDs. It felt like that all over again.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was embarrassing. Although it would be funny to see Saskatchewan lead the regular season and just absolutely flop in the playoffs.
I mean, you know what? Not to be awful, they're kind of known for this at the time of year when over the last few years they start to slow down. Now they've already clinched a playoff spot, but they have not clinched first in the West.
Yeah. Let's see they got to give it their best 13th man here.
Exactly. Yeah.
But not 13 men like they did in the Grey Cup against Montreal.
Well, that's exactly what they need to do.
And you look here, Saskatchewan, their schedule to close out the year is Edmonton, Ottawa, Toronto, Winnipeg, BC. So let's be honest, for Saskatchewan, they should look at that as all winnable games. However, you know what? Nathan Rourke has been damn near unstoppable lately. You have Toronto, which is finding ways to win. I think Edmonton's defense is finally figuring out how to play defense as a collective unit. And maybe Zach Collaros is back by then. And Ottawa, Ottawa is one of these biggest wildcard teams.
Did I just hear something come out of your mouth, Jacob?
What?
You said Zach Collaros may be back. Hey, you were agreeing with Milstego a couple of weeks ago. Zach Collaros' career is done. I said no.
I think Zach Collaros should not come back this season. Just because I don't think something should happen doesn't mean it won't.
I think you absolutely need to rewrite that comment on the index card about Edmonton and burn it, because Mechie's out. Mechie out, we're done for. We don't have defense anymore. It was like yesterday was the Mechie Jackson. Yesterday was the Mechie Jackson superstar game, but with Mechie out, we're done. We might as well be putting like Skittles on the field for defense at this point.
I will say too, I think Royce Mechie may be seeing a fine coming his way as well. It might be getting a little less full after the headbutt on Hirschlow. I understand you don't want a guy hurtling over you. And by the way, Hirschlow did not seem angry about it whatsoever. No. But if you look at the CJ Revis getting a maximum fine for the hit on Collaros, I think this headbutt was worse.
Yeah, I think it was too.
Yeah, but he was still trying to just avoid contact as much as he could.
I didn't see it that way.
You know what? People call me crazy.
To me, that was a headshot. I don't blame him for doing it. I'm not sure if I wouldn't do the same thing, having this kid jump over me like that.
So you think Mechie's gonna be suspended from the team because of that?
No, not suspended. I think the league will give him a fine. I think his wallet, it'll be like
I think that's pushing
and it'll just
it a
be
bit,
receipts in it, but no actual money. I think that's what's going to be happening.
I think that's stretching it, but you and I can talk about that.
No, we got comments about this. It was big shout out to Connor, one of the awesome gentlemen who did the CFL Fans Walk Fights Cancer, and
yes,
I know Dan, you did that as well. But it's great to hear from you, Connor. It was weird seeing players like Mechie talking trash talking fans like that. Okay, so I didn't know he was trash talking fans.
That's interesting.
Ex-Argos really want to stick it to the Argos. How'd that go? Yeah, it did go for them too well, but I didn't realize Mechie was trash talking fans. That is surprising, because I saw like Javon Leake was taking pictures with some fans prior to the game. I've heard nothing but good things about Javon Leake, or he's a wonderful man. And I know Jordan Williams, that's the player that Dinwiddie wouldn't come right out and say, but it was Jordan Williams who was mouthing back and forth to Ryan Dinwiddie in the bench, and one of the former defensive coordinators. It was a crazy situation. You normally don't see that in football.
Well, is it this thing where we sit in the 225 section? I heard some fans calling Leak a traitor, saying, "Oh, you traitor going Edmonton," and technically, like as far as I know, the Argos just didn't sign him, right? So I don't really.
The Argos weren't willing to pay him, and Javon Leake is an elite returner.
I want to know why they weren't willing to pay him, because he can't carry a damn ball to save his life.
Well, okay, maybe he's had a little weak season this season.
Actually, let's jump right into this. I have a gas or ass. Javon Leake should not be a running back. He should strictly be a special team specialist.
Gas.
I say gas because of Winkin. I think Winkin is one of the most underrated running backs in the league, and I think he's let him run with it.
Yeah, like to me, it's a no-brainer. Like Rankin has proven it. I think just use Javon Leak in the short passing at most. Like you might see Janarian Grant sometimes because he can make guys miss. He's not a good running back. I get he's got speed, but he doesn't break tackles. He doesn't read defense as well.
Yeah.
You know what? I guess I'm
And
crazy.
I wonder too, Dan, I'm going to bring this up to you too, because you mentioned this in Mark Killam. Is a young coach really struggling to keep that team together? Because you saw it was his own.
Yes, because
After the game, he goes out, and I get Dimwitty's kicking saying they won the field goal, and I get to be fired up. But as a coach from the other side too, I don't love that Dimwitty did it, to be honest with you. I think he's got to show more of a professionalism. I get it's funny and makes great TV, and Dan disagrees with me because he thinks, oh, Jacob's the one that wants everything to be correct. But at the end of the day, for Mark Killam to respond by charging with your players, trying to cause a fight, I don't think that's the right way. I don't think that's the right way to handle it either, right?
He wanted his
maybe Killam
teammates
should
to
have
blow
said to
off his
his
own
guys, "Hey, stop
steam.
chirping the other side and just focus on playing football."
He wanted his boys to blow off his own steam because he could have told the team to go for a safety.
Yeah.
Well,
There's your one point.
the team safety. To be honest, it wasn't Fajardo that lost that game. It was Killam because of the safety.
I totally agree. I think it's
I even wonder too on the Fajardo fumble play situation. When you're up 2 scores against a third string quarterback, just run the ball and punt. Even if it's a 2-and-out, make that quarterback earn those points.
Yeah.
Well, for sure. I mean, there's been a few situations this season. I think Mark Killam has made some questionable coaching decisions and lost the game. I kind of give Dinwiddie. Well, I'm not kind of. I do. I give Dinwiddie credit for having.
Wait, are you marrying Ryan Dimwitty? Do.
What?
You said I do for Ryan Dimwitty, so are you marrying him?
No, I'm just saying I give him credit for having some swagger and saying something back. It's not like Dinwiddie started this whole thing on the bench. It was the former Argos on the Edmonton players starting this whole thing. And, I give him credit for sowing some balls. Yeah, I think Mark Curran took it over the line. And, yeah, you got to cross that fine line between...
Well, Dan, looks like you're having a throuple marriage. We'll have it right here.
There we go.
I totally agree with you, Connor, that it's first-time mistakes.
But yeah, Connor, I do also agree with you here from your comment previously about the first-time head coaching mistakes.
Yeah.
I think Mark Killam will get better as a coach. I don't think I certainly wouldn't fire him after this season if Edmonton makes the playoffs or not. I think all things considered, considering how badly they started, he was forced to use Trey Ford when Cody Fajardo was a better quarterback. I think he's done a decent job. I do want to say, though, and I'm curious about, anyone in the comments chime in on this one as well. I hated Ryan Dimwitty running shotgun in 3rd and 1. I don't understand that play call whatsoever, unless it is because Nick Arbuckle was banged up and they didn't want him doing any more short yardage. At that point, then put in Jared Dagey or Tucker Horn in short yardage and hope that I think you're more likely to have success with that than running shotgun. Because then you're already starting 3 yards back, basically.
Jacob called me crazy, and I guess in the end of the day, I was crazy because the Argos won. But when you I got to give a shout out to Dagey, even though I got frustrated at first. At the end of the day, he won the game. He did what had to be done. But when he first came into the game, he could barely throw a football. And I was sitting there in the stands. I said, Jacob, if Dagey can't throw the football, you don't want to put Tucker Horn in for his first CFL snap in a game-deciding drive. Why not put Grant in? We saw Grant threw that huge bomb against, I think it was the Winnipeg game, right, as a quarterback. And I'm like, why not? That would really confuse the defense if we had Grant and Brown back there.
That'd be a terrible decision, Dan. But yeah, I kind of like what Connor is saying here, who didn't it was a weird situation to not just run a short yardage play. But luckily it didn't bite them in the butt. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a team lose a turnover battle 6-1 and win the game in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, it's unheard of.
Hey, Connor likes your creativity, Dan. So
Thank you. Yeah.
But look, I
think Detroit Lion magic in the CFL, right? Some trick plays,
Absolutely. And yeah, let's actually quick shout out to
Oh
John
yeah,
Candy as well.
100%.
Like, I mean, a living legend. And it was so that game meant more, I think, because of the whole John Candy celebration, right?
Oh, for sure, man. And not just John Candy, but it was also military night in
Yep.
Argo land.
Yep.
So, we had over 300 military people in attendance, which is incredible. I've given the Argo shout out for this in the past. I'll give them a shout out again. I love MLSE, how they have at least one military veteran at every sporting event. I think it's a class act. And I think everyone should do it. But the fact that they
Absolutely.
stepped up and brought over 300 was incredible. And I got talking to so many veterans during the game. I just quickly shook their hand and thanked them. But, if you see a veteran in uniform, shake their hand and thank them. It means the world to them. When we have this beautiful freedom, it's beautiful country, and we wouldn't have that if it wasn't for these lovely men and women serving for us. So I just want to give a shout out to them. That was a great game, too.
Dan, that is so perfect. And you and I were talking in the comment section on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad that through all the craziness of 2021, 2022 era, where it seemed like the whole world was just flipped upside down, kicked over to Pluto, CFL stuck to their guns, and they have always stood true to appreciating their military, and it's just beautiful because
it is 100%. Yeah, they did an excellent job. There's a lot of leagues and teams taking peer pressure on certain things, and the CFL's not. They're doing what they believe in, and not just CFL, but MLSE again too. And we had the military plane fly over, which was amazing too. And just give them a huge shout out to everything they're doing.
But also cool, really cool here that Connor got a chance to shake hands with John Candy's son and let him know that win was.
Oh wow,
that's
a really
Candy.
awesome thing. And Connor, I think it's great that you took the time to do that. You could see his son was emotional.
He was emotional.
John Candy absolutely loved the Toronto Argos. He
actually looks like John Candy. Eh? You can see it in his face and everything. He
does, yeah.
He does, 100%.
Yeah.
But Jacob, what's your take on the military?
Oh, obviously, I think the military nights are super important, and for MLSC, and also too was a lot of Toronto Argonaut fans who gave up their tickets to the military so they could go to those games. So let's also give a shout out to Argos fans who do that as well. And no, I think it is super important to still have those military nights. I'll be honest, I get put off. The Blue Jays only do it like every Saturday game. I understand they have a lot of games, but they realistically, for them to give up a extra ticket for every game would not hurt their budget whatsoever. Same with the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? You're a franchise that's worth multi-millions. I think you could do more for our war veterans and our war heroes. But I am very impressed that the Canadian Football League, you know what, when there was pressure from both sides, they've just stuck to their guns, and they're still keeping these theme nights like the Indigenous culture and
that's the next thing,
and the Caribbean and you know what, they've done a really good job at sticking to their guns and being like, look, we have some people that are going to be upset about it. If you don't like it, don't come.
Speaking of beautiful Indigenous artwork, huge shout out to Argo Fluffy, who's been I haven't seen him yet this year, but he's a legendary Argo fan, and he does beautiful Indigenous artwork. So, I got Jacob an Argo hoodie for Christmas a couple years ago of his work, and it's incredible. So, I'm sure you can look him up on Instagram there. He does all kinds of cool Indigenous theme artwork. So, sports theme and stuff. So huge shout out to him.
And yet back over here to the comment section, and yes, Dan, absolutely. I'm sorry, I was reading a comment while you were talking, but
okay, multi-taxing blow.
Yeah, but I love the Canadian Armed Forces being there. Thought I'd share with you guys. I was told from someone who worked for the Argos that the CAR actually pays to have veterans honored each game as a way to recruit more people. Okay,
I did not know that.
I did not know that.
That's good. That's great. It's wonderful.
But it's a good way to recruit people. You can get all amped up and everything at the game for it, right? So I can see that.
And I will say, I absolutely loved the rendition of the Canadian National Anthem. We heard it twice this weekend because it was the same gentleman who sang it in Hamilton as they did in Toronto when he did a phenomenal, and I mean, beautiful job.
Oh, I think he's the best anthem singer I have witnessed live.
What about me? Oh,
I can't think of the poor guy's name on top of my head, but I've witnessed him sing. I've been lucky enough to witness him sing at quite a few sporting events in my life.
which that was his
And
last
the
game.
Argo was his last one. So you can see he was really emotional. He's done 25 years of serving, and we got to thank him for that. That's incredible what he's done. And he sings in both English and French, which is pretty cool, too.
And yes, Connor, absolutely. It was his last time singing the anthem, too, as he is retiring. So it was very inspirational to see that last time, to get to see him and hear him, too, right? Like, phenomenal voice.
I wish I remember his name. Can't forget his name.
But now we look at the standings, right? And this is where things get a little... I would say the standings just got even more interesting after this weekend. Mm-hmm. I really thought this was the week Saskatchewan was going to start to pull away.
Me too.
I thought they're going to play Montreal. They're going to kick Montreal's butt. Easy win. It was the other way around. So Calgary still does have a shot to catch Saskatchewan. It's going to be tough, but they could still do it. My big concern... Sorry, go ahead, Dan.
Calgary has a game in hand over Saskatchewan.
They do, but they're 4 points behind. So there's
still a shot. The game in hand is going to be crucial at this point in the season, right?
Now, my big concern out of the West, truthfully, would be the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You got the BC Lions breathing down their neck.
Yeah.
I still don't think Edmonton's season is done yet. And you don't have a quarterback in Winnipeg. I don't think Chris Streveler can win multiple games.
Yeah, we saw him live. We were at the Ticats game. If you were watching on the Iwin social media, we were at the Ticats game as well, and
we were in disguise.
That's right. Yeah, great atmosphere in Hamilton. Gives huge shout out to the fans there. But yeah, the Winnipeg looked very, I would say, weak. I hate to say it, but
the problem is too, like, they don't. They don't use Oliveira enough in Winnipeg, number one. And actually, let's go full screen. We'll get back and then we'll talk more about these standings. But they don't use Oliveira enough, number one. I really don't feel they do. Even in that game, I think you could be using Oliveira in the passing game a little bit more. And I think Nick Dembski's got to be more involved. I think Nick Dembski is one of the best players in the Canadian Football League, and Winnipeg just doesn't seem to utilize it. He's a phenomenal two-way. He can be used as a running back or a receiver. And also, too, he's Canadian, so it helps your ratio the more he's out there. Yep. Like, I just think you got to get him more involved. And I think truthfully, I just would have tried to run that ball pretty much the whole game.
Yeah, but sorry.
Because Chris Streveler just made too many mistakes.
I was confused with how much yardage he had in that second half. Why they didn't, or in the first half, why they didn't play him at all in the second half.
Yeah, I don't. And Oliveira he has been openly frustrated about that, right? Like, he has been, because what I didn't understand is, and if I go back and look at that game, I don't understand a lot of things. Like, algebra doesn't make a lot of sense to me as much as I passed it in high school. But what I also didn't understand about this game is when you went away from running the ball, you were only down a touchdown. So I didn't understand, like, the panic. It's almost like Winnipeg doesn't know how to play from behind, because they have been dominant for 5 years, and now they don't know what to do because they're not dominant anymore. Like, I think Hamilton kind of owned that whole game. Bo Levi Mitchell going 21 for 28, 232 TDs. Greg Bell, 22 carries, 137 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, Jake Delagal on his one short yardage play. Say, hold my beer, I'm going to run 14 yards. Like, Winnipeg's defense looked flat. Their offense couldn't do anything. And you got to remember, this is a game where Kenny Lawler, 97 yards, but it's not like Kenny Lawler had this insane game. The passing game wasn't actually that great. I think it was good enough. But Levi Mitchell made some plays when he needed to. But no, like, I think if you're Winnipeg, I'm looking at the West, and I'm looking, what do I think is a team that's in right now that might not be in by playoff time? And I think that team is Winnipeg. I'm going to say this right now. BC is a better team than Winnipeg.
Ooh.
I see the BC Lions. And if Winnipeg has to go in through the East, do you really think they want to have to face Montreal or Toronto first round? Let's just be honest. I don't think they do.
Dad, what is making you question this? Nathan Rourke isn't missing a beat.
I don't know. I look at,
Sorry, Dan, just quickly before you get into that, I do want to bring up here Team 10. Absolutely. We got to say, too, that was such an emotional movement in that stadium.
Oh, it was.
I almost loved, instead of a moment of silence, it was a moment of celebration. I thought that was such a class act
Huge
by Hamilton. And I give the whole league credit how they really embraced this team Ted, not worrying about, oh, he's a Hamilton Ticat GM, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. The poor man was fighting cancer. And he did unfortunately lose the battle before he got to witness that. But it was, I do agree with you, Connor. I think there was an extra oomph behind that game. But sorry, Dan, continue with what you were saying. 100%. I just wanted to jump in there.
No, that's well worth interrupting for. I mean, gotta give the Hamilton team a lot of credit, the stadium, the fans, and even the Winnipeg players showed respect, right? And the Winnipeg, very surprisingly, quite a few Winnipeg fans. Winnipeg fans travel very well. And of course, we saw Rough Rider fans in Hamilton and in Toronto this weekend. And all the fans across everywhere gave Ted huge respect. So gotta give huge respect to everyone. Class act from everyone. Team effort. So great job, CFL, on that. What were we? Oh, yes, Winnipeg. Yes. So we were talking about Winnipeg and BC. I just feel at the end of the day, even though they don't have Zach Quarles, they do have Brady Oliveira.
That they don't use.
Okay. They did get back Nick Dempsey, obviously, if he's healthy and stuff. And we did get Ontario Wilson back from the NFL.
Sure.
And you gotta look at the leadership of Osei and stuff like that. I just don't see a team that has that kind of leadership and have done what they've done to fold up and give up at this point in the year. I don't.
You're misunderstanding. I'm not saying they're going to give up. I'm saying the talent's not in the building.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I don't think this team is good enough.
I mean, look, Dembski, I would at this point rank him as a tier 3. To be honest with you, maybe that's stretching it a bit, but
yeah, I wouldn't know.
Tier 2 at best. Definitely doesn't even come close to scraping the surface of a tier 1.
I like Nick Dempsey. I mean,
I love Nick Dempsey.
Receiver can only do what the quarterback is giving him, right? If the quarterback can't throw the ball,
1,000-yard guy pretty much every year consistently.
Yeah, I think Nick Dempsey's really good.
But it's just, the reason why I think Winnipeg is in some trouble and is I look at their upcoming schedule, right? You have Ottawa, Hamilton, Edmonton, Saskatchewan, Montreal. You are only playing 2 out of those 5 games. You're playing teams that have worse records than you, and not by much.
Yeah,
like Edmonton and Ottawa are only 2 points behind, or is Ottawa might only have 8 points. But I mean, the point of the matter is
Ottawa only has 8 points. They only got 4 wins.
Right, Ottawa only has 8. But I mean, your point, Edmonton and Ottawa are both played some really good football, right? And let's be honest, it doesn't matter what time of the year it is for Saskatchewan. They will be up to play Winnipeg. It doesn't matter if they have already clinched a playoff spot or not.
Oh, for sure. It's a
so it's kind of like in Hamilton, the Ticats, and I actually love them for this. If they don't win the Labor Day game, they consider the season around. I love it, right? But look, you look at Winnipeg's schedule; it's not easy.
No.
And you know what?
Montreal, who after last week they started to look really solid, and then we go to BC's schedule. It's also actually quite difficult. You got Calgary, Toronto, Calgary, Edmonton, Saskatchewan. Now you got to think about it though. Saskatchewan, the final game of the year. Saskatchewan's probably not going to be running all their guys because they will probably know where they're sitting by then. But you look at Calgary and Toronto and even Edmonton, like you look at all those games, I would say are not easy games, especially considering Toronto earlier in the year completely torched that defense.
Yeah.
And whether it's Chad Kelly or Nick Arbuckle, or who knows, maybe it's going to be Jared Dagey. We have no update on anything quarterback situation in Toronto. Again, Arbuckle, for anyone who isn't aware, had a calf injury in the last game. And to be honest, I think he got that injury back in August 23rd against BC, because I remember after a play, he was limping after a short yardage play, stayed in there and thugged it out. But I honestly think he's been hurt since then. But I mean, at the end of the day, BC does not have an easy schedule either. It's just, I don't know. I have more confidence right now in the BC Lions than I do in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And Dan, I get what you're saying about championship pedigree, but I also think Nathan Rourke has a lot to prove.
Let's
And
back
I
up a
feel
little
Nathan
bit.
Rourke right now is one of the best quarterbacks in the Canadian Football League, maybe even the best.
Let's back up a little bit because you brought something there I forgot to talk about. So let's do a gas or ass.
Oh.
So, with Mr. I love Chad Kelly. He's one of my favorite guys. Like you mentioned, Jacob, doesn't matter what quarterback is in there. It made me kind of remember. With so much going on this week, we didn't even talk about this. Last week, Chad Kelly hit social media saying the comeback September 13th. Gasso asked, did that affect Nick Arbuckle's playing ability, thinking it's possibility that he lost this group because of Chad Kelly potentially coming back?
I think that's ass. I think it just simply has to do with his injury.
Interesting. Okay.
Well,
cool.
I'm kind of in the middle because I do think football is a psyche, and let's be honest, he did have to give some. From what I read, Chad Kelly did take some of the first team reps, and it does. Arbuckle started to play so much better once Chad Kelly was put on the 6th game, and I'm not blaming Chad Kelly for that, by the way.
No.
The social media post, I wasn't happy with it whatsoever. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think until he was labeled as the starter, he shouldn't have posted that. I
agree.
understand Chad Kelly is a franchise caliber quarterback.
Oh, I love it.
I would say in Toronto, his tenure has been very up and down. He's had some great moments, and I'm not even talking about the drama off the field because to me, he's, you know what, it's the CFL made the decision they made. It's time to move on from it. But I more mean his play on the field. Chad Kelly can either be the greatest player on the field or the worst player on the field. And this might sound weird. Nick Arbuckle threw 4 interceptions, right?
Yeah.
He also threw 2 touchdowns and kept them in that game. Chad Kelly, unfortunately, once he starts to struggle, he doesn't do as good of a job as centering himself and getting back into it. Especially in the CFL, you can be down 30 points at half and still come back and win because of the 20-second play clock, because of in 3 downs, because the way this game works, you can come back. But I do think it is partially in his head, but I'm good. I agree. I'm leaning more towards Key right now that I think it was more due to the injury.
I don't know. I'm really
I'm gonna say like 80 gas, 20 ass.
So the stove is on low.
Yes. If I put the Axe bottle right near my fart, I wouldn't burn the house down. I'll put it that way. But
I'm really on the fence about this because I thought it had something to do with it, but then I saw in the 4th quarter the injury was worse than what we all thought. But I do think, injury aside, I do think it kind of played a play into the whole mindset of Nick Arbuckle. I'm not blaming Nick Arbuckle at all. I love Nick Arbuckle. I'm just saying any human being would feel that way, right? I don't know. I would hope that Mr. Kelly talked to guys like the doctors and Pinball and Dinwiddie and Nick Arbuckle himself before making that post. But we don't know. If he just went out and made that post, I don't know if it's kind of a little bit like the situation in BC last year between VA and York. And I think one reason why Chad Kelly is not back yet is because the Argos are trying to avoid that situation. Right now, like it'll lump it, injury or not, this is Nick Arbuckle's team. Nick Arbuckle has worked hard, he's earned it, and this is his team to lead. And to get out there on social media, I think that's kind of more of a locker room conversation, personally. I mean, I give Kelly credit because he has the swagger, he has the balls to get out there and say stuff, and people like it. It brings attention to the Argos, it brings attention to the CFL. So, that's fine and good. And I think if he wanted to say make a video say, "Oh, come back, coming soon," I think that would have been fantastic. But to put the exact date on and everything, I'm like, I don't know.
So I do have a quick question for you, and I'm not going to release the whole power rankings yet because, well, to be blunt, I haven't figured them out yet. But
yeah.
After watching Saskatchewan this week, Would you still say Saskatchewan is the top team in the league without a doubt? The problem is because Calgary was hopeless last week.
That's my hiccup. The problem
So
is
I'm going
like,
to say this, Dan, as much as this may hurt to say from an Argo perspective, Hamilton's found their way again. Is Hamilton now the top team in the CFL over the last couple weeks? Remember, power rankings doesn't go by your standings, right? It goes by the recent play. And you look at Hamilton's last 2 weeks, they've dominated back-to-back weeks. The games aren't close.
yes, if you look at it in just the pure couple of weeks, I would agree Hamilton's the top team last couple of weeks. However, I don't think Saskatchewan, every good team has one bad game, right? I don't think Saskatchewan's at the point where they've lost top position in the league. I really don't.
To be honest, I think I'm with Dan there. We're just going to have to see. I don't think... And Jacob, I wanted to jump off the board before Dan to get his gasser ass about Edmonton because we were talking like BC, Edmonton, Winnipeg.
Yes.
What I think the two factors here are for Edmonton as an Edmonton fan, for us to have any sort of chance to get into the playoffs, is which Fajardo are we going to see with the psyche? And we need one of those teams to, Winnipeg or BC, need to pretty much lose every other game. But here's what I want to say about Fajardo. In Saskatchewan, he was the type of quarterback, by far, absolutely, that would be so under pressure. He'd have one bad game, and then that would just weigh on his psyche the rest of the season. He was totally that quarterback. In Montreal, he was the type of quarterback where he could have a really bad game and then just completely bounce back. Do I think we're going to see the Saskatchewan Fajardo? Yes, to be honest, I don't think he has it in him.
Wow.
I think...
Yeah, I remember a quote-unquote bad game for Fajardo was 25 for 28, 229, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yeah, but he's going to let that fumble weigh on his head the rest of the season, I think.
Well, the $1 million question, Cody Fajardo, and call me crazy, because Key, I used to think the exact same thing as you did about Cody Fajardo. But I was at the Grey Cup a couple of years ago where Cody Fajardo won. Yeah, you were there with me. When Green Day performed, that was amazing watching Green Day, and they beat Winnipeg and all that. Pretty amazing game.
And yeah,
when I saw Cody Fajardo at a different team, I started to think, when that mindset, was that the Saskatchewan fans? We all know that Saskatchewan fans are probably, I would say, most difficult fans in the league.
Well, I'm gonna counter you a little bit on difficult, Dan. I think they just expect more out of their team.
Kind of like Leaf fans almost of the CFL.
No, because they understand what they're watching. It's not a corporate crowd.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Jacob, did you fall asleep at the Grey Cup?
I did not fall asleep at the Grey Cup.
I had a nap.
Dan had a nap, but that's okay.
That's okay. It was cold up there.
But no, I just mean with Fajardo.
Like, section 215 in Hamilton and Wall 23 at wind is cold.
So I have a serious question here. So you guys are losing faith in Fajardo, right?
Yeah.
Yet everyone still has faith in Zach Collaros.
I don't.
Actually,
but the majority of people, I've seen a lot of people, though, not just you, Key, go on that Cody Fajardo can't get it done. But I'm seeing everyone else saying, "Well, Zach Collaros was playing. Winnipeg would have beat Hamilton." And I don't know if they would have. Like Zach Collaros to 14 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Cody Fajardo 10 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Cody Fajardo was putting up an MOP caliber year if he started every game this year.
Yeah, but for us to have seen 2 Cody Fajardos throughout our life, and for us to have had such 5 years of god-awful losing seasons, it's not so much that we don't trust Cody Fajardo, it's that we don't trust our luck as a franchise. Because we're still shaken up about the last 5 years.
I guess I'm more of faith in a guy like Fajardo because of what he did in Montreal.
100%.
That's more my... And I think for Edmonton, and again, I'm not an Elks fan, and you know what? I'll be honest. I've been very blessed as an Argo fan of, you know what? They seem to turn things around quick even when they're bad. But I've been a Leaf fan my entire life, so I am used to losing. And I will say this about Edmonton. I think they are right there. I think that team is right there from being very good. I think if Cody Fajardo was the starter from week 1, you're probably ahead of BC and BC and Winnipeg. And you're
I
probably
think if Cody Fajardo was,
you're maybe sitting up towards Calgary.
Yeah, as I said, I think if you have Cody
close.
Fajardo at week 1, I think you have 7 wins right now.
I'll always remember after the Riders dropping him, Cody was crying to the media, begging for a chance to play. Yeah, that's true. That was something he did, and I mean. And that's one thing. Some people would take that in a bad way. Some people take it as, look, this guy desperately just wants a shot to prove himself. And I think he did, right?
That's how I felt with it when I saw it. Yeah, I forgot about that.
But we've talked about this multiple times on the island, and soon we'll have to quickly talk about some NFL games starting at 1 o'clock. But the Canadian Football League has a good problem to have, but they have too many good quarterbacks. I'm going to call this out. I think Dustin Crum's a starter, and I think Dustin Crum can be a starting quarterback, back-to-back weeks of over 300 yards. Multiple come from behind wins. Also did it in college. Like, this is a guy that I think could be a starter. Nick Arbuckle, even with this bad game, still leads the league with first quarterback this year to hit over 4,000 passing yards. I think Nick Arbuckle's a starter in this league. I still think Trey Ford, with a better offensive coordinator, could be a starter in this league. Right? Yeah. So, I mean, now, mind you, we don't know about Trevor Harris and Zach Collaros. I say Trevor Harris just because he's getting old. He's not going to keep playing until he's like 105. I don't think he's going to be the Jaromir Jagr of the CFL and just keep going.
You never know.
But I mean, also Jake Maier. I think Jake Maier under the right system. Dan, you can laugh all you want. Jake Maier looked, I know it was garbage time, but he was literally ripping that Montreal defense apart. And he also has a win this year. 1 start, 1 win. So maybe, again, under the right system, look, all of a sudden, Vernon Adams Jr. in Calgary is not looking so great, and they went and got the best quarterback available.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm going to jump off the fence a bit here, but the way Crum is playing lately, it's... If we're talking the last 2-3 weeks, I would not necessarily be devastated if Crum replaced Fajardo. I'm liking him a lot.
I like Crum too.
I'm getting called out in the comment section here, but I'm going to defend my points. So saying Jake Maier, saying Cameron Dukes could too. Okay. Hear me out on Jake Maier, though. Jake Maier, his first 3 starts in the CFL were 300-plus yards. Then Dave Dickinson cut the playbook by 60%. Or Craig Dickinson, sorry. Then he cut the playbook drastically down for Jake Maier. I feel Jake Maier in the right system on a team that's run heavy could be good enough. I'm not saying he's going to win MOP, but you put him, Montreal, I think, would have been happier than a pig and poop to have Jake Maier in their system with all the injuries they've had. And Cam Dukes, the big issue with Dukes, unfortunately, is he can't do much past a 15-yard throw. I love Cameron Dukes, by the way. I've met him a couple of times. Phenomenal guy. And I think he's a talented player who actually I think Montreal should have given more of a chance.
I'm surprised they didn't. I mean,
and they just chose not to. And to this comment here about Nick Arbuckle, it's generally good, but he consistently made fatal mistakes in most games. Okay, the problem is for Nick Arbuckle, we're saying fatal mistakes. Going into this game, he had the same amount of interception as Bo Levi Mitchell. Would you say that about Bo Levi Mitchell? Right, and and look, there's silence here, and that's kind of my point. Yeah. I think again, you got to remember of Nick Arbuckle too. For 90% of the season, they've had 0 running game. So he's having you have to just look at the numbers. Code if Nick Arbuckle is going to throw the ball, I'm just curious here. Yeah, so Nick Arbuckle has thrown the most passing attempts out of any quarterback in the CFL with 465. The next closest is Bo Levi Mitchell with 459. Then after that, Nathan Rourke with 360, Trevor Harris with 354, Vernon Adams Jr. with 285. So, like, do you notice that huge drop off once you get by Mitchell and Arbuckle?
For sure, but
those are teams that have running games. So it only makes sense to me that Bo Levi Mitchell and Nick Arbuckle, and I'm even going to put Nathan Rourke in that category, even though he's only in the 300s. He still throws the ball a lot. They're going to throw more interceptions and make more mistakes in theory, just because they are dropping back to pass so much more. Even Trevor Harris. Trevor Harris has 9 interceptions this year. Yeah, right? So in theory, Trevor Harris has thrown, he's up there tied for the 3rd most interceptions out of any player in the CFL this year.
That's a shock.
It's a tough situation. Okay, maybe I'm a little out to lunch about Jake Mayer the more I think about it.
I think you're out to lunch, but I think everything gets today.
I still think on the right system, he could maybe be a little more.
I actually have a gasser ass in a...
Oh, got a comment here too, Bo.
But okay, and it's not just the interceptions, it's the fumbles, sacks due to being too late, completion rating. His completion rating is 72.5%, by the way, which is better than Nathan Rourke, Trevor Harris, Vernon Adams Jr., Bo Levi Mitchell. This is just kind of I would agree with you.
I agree with the sacks and interceptions, though. As much as I love Nick Arbuckle.
Okay, give him an O-line that's half decent. Give him a better O-line. He is running for his life. I'm just saying right now, Nick Arbuckle has the best completion rating out of a quarterback that's played the majority of the games.
Exactly.
Cody Fajardo's at 77%. Zach Collaros, who's missed quite a few, at 73.8. Drew Brown, 72.7. Davis Alexander, people seem to think he's the next best quarterback to ever touch a football, is at 72.7. Nick Arbuckle's at 72.5. Truthfully, I think people have been way too hard on Nick Arbuckle.
I just will say, though, I only think it's all Nick Arbuckle's fault. They haven't had a winning game all year, and I hate to say it, in that Edmonton game, Brown, I think really took a step back. I think Brown...
Edmonton's got a great interior defense.
Brown was great. What were you seeing? What was I missing that Brown was so bad?
I don't know.
It was his worst game in the last few. No, and I do agree Arbuckle as a backup is fantastic. I just think...
best backup in the league.
I just think, personally, I think he's done enough that if Toronto doesn't take him on as a starter next year, that I think someone else might. With Zach Collaros and Trevor Harris both aging out, I could see Winnipeg, or you got to remember, this is a guy who won a Grey Cup. I think.
Oh, what do you see Montreal taking a stab at? Nick Arbuckle?
Montreal is.
Let me finish. David Alexander, as great as he is, because he is great, okay, he's been known for having injury problems. You have a great, talented quarterback that's known for having injury problems. You probably want a pretty solid backup, but when he gets injured, I can see him going to Montreal.
I don't, because I think McLeod Bethel-Thompson, if he doesn't retire, I think is that. He proved he could still be that this week.
Well, I agree. I love Bethel-Thompson, too. I think he's a great backup. But Bethel-Thompson is in the same conversation as Cody Fajar, No, that's not what I'm trying to say. No. Zach Collaros and Trevor Harris. He's getting up there in age, right? So because he's getting up there in age, it's something you got to consider.
But Key has been calling for this bump for way too long. So let's get it our gasser out.
Okay, so Jacob feels that Arbuckle has been injured for a few games. And for him to be able to power through, this isn't the gasser ass, but what the gasser ass is that no matter the injury, it can kill a top-tier quarterback simply for being injured. Because Tom Brady even threw a bunch of interceptions one game with an injured hip. So if Tom Brady can throw a bunch of interceptions because of a minor injury, then Arbuckle really has no reason to be wrapped on for throwing interceptions if he's truly been injured for 3 weeks. Injuries, okay, the gasser ass is really injuries are the most effective on quarterbacks.
I would say gas 100%. I think any injury to a quarterback, especially a mobility issue with a mediocre O-line, and I'm sorry, I don't think Toronto has a good O-line this year. It's an absolute killer. I think that's why Chad Kelly has not been in the lineup, to be blunt. I think they feel Chad Kelly, even at 80%, can't do what other guys can do.
Yeah, I would say gas on that too. I think that last interception, we saw Arbuckle fall of the last game. I think it wasn't, yeah, he took a deep shot, 50-50 ball. But I think one reason why it happened was because you saw him in the pocket. He couldn't quite get set up the way he could. I think it's some type of ankle injury. I
It's a
think he was
calf.
so calf. Okay, well, it needs something to do with the leg. I think he was so worried about his injury. I think he wasn't moving well in the pocket as much as he would like. I think the old line was collapsing a little bit, and he just bombed it up. But I gotta say, this may sound crazy, but at this point, he was at the Argos 30-yard line. I think it's better to flow interception 50 yards away than get sacked at the 30-yard line. Let me finish. Have a potential of getting a fumble, losing a fumble at the 30-yard line. So if the choices were having Wicks getting a fumble at 30-yard line or throwing the interception 50 yards down the field, I think he made the right decision.
I disagree with you there. I think it more came down to the receiving core being banged up pretty good with no Coxie and no Daniels, a 50-50 ball. Your best 50-50 ball guy was Herslow, and no disrespect. Herslow's having a phenomenal year, but he's no Dominic Coxie, right? But, and I will say, I actually do agree with this in the comment section about MBT. I was never the biggest MBT fan, even when he was in Toronto, to be completely honest with you guys.
I liked him.
I always felt he was a system quarterback at best, and it's proven that ever since he's left Toronto, right? In the UFL, he led the league in passing, then went out first round in the playoffs. Edmonton, he couldn't win a game to save his life, and Montreal, he's 2-5 as a starter. So it's MBT he has arm talent, but he doesn't seem to be able to come up with enough clutch moments. Even in the last Grey Cup game, when MBT got injured, you have to remember when Chad Kelly came in, they were down 10 points.
That's right, yeah.
Mind you, it was more on the running game and the defense that got them back in that game, but it wasn't because McLeod Bethel-Thompson was having this phenomenal game. McLeod Bethel-Thompson, I would compare him to a less mobile Cody Fajardo, except he's not as good. He's a game manager. He can go out there, make throws, make simple reads, and that's kind of where he is. Versus guys like Bo Levi Mitchell. They're not game managers. They're game breakers.
Right.
And Nick Arbuckle was kind of in that middle, I would say. And I do agree with people when they say stat for stat and line for line, you look at the pure attributes. Nick Arbuckle is not the best quarterback in the CFL. And I do agree early in the year, he made a lot of critical errors. But we also have the special teams allowing at least a touchdown a game, if not two. The defense couldn't. You would see the Argos were putting up, they were towards the top in points for, but the defense were allowing the most points in the entire league. The reason why it worked so well when Chad Kelly was suspended last year and either Arbuckle and Dukes were in was because the defense and special teams were so solid. This year, the Argos have been winning mostly on offense with a backup quarterback in. So it was a very weird sound that came. I think my mom's watching a game show and it was like, blah, blah, blah. But as a reminder, the NFL Sunday is just about to kick off here. And currently there are 3 games going on. None of them are great. I'm just going to be honest. Sorry, there's a bunch of games going on. The NFL does this really weird thing.
I think it's more than 3, bud.
Well, I had in my head it was only 3 starting at 1 o'clock. So we have the Cowboys versus Giants, Seahawks versus Steelers, Rams.
I'm excited for that game.
Bills versus Jets, Patriots versus Dolphins, good Lord, 49ers versus Saints, Browns versus Ravens, and Bears versus the Lions. I think the Seahawks-Steelers is an interesting one.
Aaron Rodgers, boy.
I'm curious to see what Aaron Rodgers is like when it's not a revenge game.
I think he'll do
And remember, anyone, you're a little too late to get your picks in for the 1 o'clock games. But if you download the Streakers app, you can make those picks for your 4 o'clock and your 8 or whatever games. So
that's right.
The NFL, the CFL, the NHL, MLB, it's all in there. So But I am curious to see what Aaron Rodgers does when it's not a revenge game.
Mhm.
I'm curious because he really wanted to beat the Jets. Will he care enough to beat the Seahawks? And maybe people disagree with me on that. I know, Dan, you do, but I'll be very curious to see what Aaron Rodgers is like.
I think Aaron Rodgers does care because it's not just about beating the Jets; it's about setting people up like you. Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks, and he does not get the respect whatsoever. So he wants to set people up like you and prove that he's one of the best. How is he going to do that? Beating teams that are not just as rivalry. And the Seahawks lost their quarterback this offseason and they have kind of a new team. I like the Seahawks too. I think the Seahawks are going to do good. But I think
Well, I'm
this
expecting
game,
a better game from Sam Darnold today.
oh yeah, that's what I mean. Even though they lost Smith, they replaced him, a very nice replacement, in my opinion. I think Darnold was one of the best quarterbacks available besides Aaron Rodgers this offseason, right? So it's like we're seeing the big two free agents going against each other. So I think it's going to be a very, very good game. And
And I'm
I
going to
think
say, sorry, Key, go ahead.
you mentioned game breakers and game managers. I think that needs to be a new segment like now. Game manager or game breaker. And I think Aaron Rodgers wants to be a game breaker. He's not a game manager, so I guess he's neither.
I'm still not sold on Aaron Rodgers, but I will say, out of these 1:00 games, you do have some teams. It sounds weird, it's only week 2, but they're probably pretty desperate for wins. I'm going to say the Cowboys have to beat the Giants.
Oh, I agree with
The
that.
Dolphins
Yeah,
have to beat the Patriots, and the Lions have to beat the Bears.
Yeah, I'm shocked that the Lions lost the first week.
And not just lost, they got destroyed.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that I'm looking at here. Like the Bills should beat the Jets. The Bengals should beat the Jags.
I'm a Bills fan.
I don't know about the 49ers versus Saints because the 49ers have so many injuries, but I still think the 49ers should win that one.
I'm not ready to say goodbye to Dan Campbell as an amazing piece of coach, though. If he loses today, I'm just not ready to kiss all that goodbye and say that he was a fluke and that
I don't think he's a fluke.
I don't think he's a fluke. No, I really
there's nothing good about him. I'm not ready to give up on him yet.
Mind you, we're all saying that, but I have seen on social media some people say that Dan Campbell, whatever is over. I think it's just, to be honest, I think the Packers are a Super Bowl contender.
Oh, 100%.
And they lost to a very good team. I think Micah Parsons was the missing piece in Green Bay.
Yeah, I think the Packers. I think every year you have your Super Bowl contenders, like your Bills and Ravens and KCs and Eagles and blah blah blah. But then there's all these couple teams that sneak into a Super Bowl contender. I think Green Bay's that team this year. I think they snuck in with that trade.
For sure.
I don't think it's not much necessarily a sneak. I think it's just they went out and addressed their biggest issue, and they went out and got the best player available to do so.
They didn't give much of anything to get him.
They gave up a good run rusher.
But, yeah, I get that, but I think it was a very good trade.
Comparing what they gave up, no, I don't think they had to give up as much. But there is also the Blue Jays today at 1:37, and they are looking to sweep this series versus the Orioles.
Great comeback win for us yesterday. That was exciting.
Absolutely.
We weren't at the game. Obviously, we were at the both opportunities. I could have went to both Jays games. I went to CFL games instead. But yeah, it's funny how it all works out, right? And then today I could have went. I didn't get an opportunity. But anyway, that's the way it is. But yeah, the Jays are looking really good. I was watching the Jays updates online as I was at the Argo game. Like, whoa, they won. They come back and won because they were down by 2 in the 9th. I'm like, oh boy. So pretty exciting.
And interesting news out of Jays lands. They've called up pitching prospect Terry Yasavage. I apologize if I'm butchering his name, and he will be getting the start Monday against the Rays. This is good friend of the program, Dan Gray. He's talked about him thinking that he could be the next big piece.
Yeah, AAA guy of Buffalo, yeah.
Yeah. He could be a big piece for the Toronto Blue Jays. But you know what I mean? There's lots of good football tonight. Make sure, again, too, that you do tune in to the Streakers On podcast tomorrow as we have our pre-record launching out. We have done now over 75 episodes of the pre-record, so thank you very much for tuning in to 75 episodes. We really appreciate you guys' support. and really appreciate the amount of support we've gotten from the community, especially the Canadian football community, because that's in the community that's really helped us grow.
Yeah, you guys have done amazing. We also had great support from Maple Leaf Land, and that's starting up again soon. So that's very exciting. Before, I think Jacob's trying to wrap up the show, but if I'm reading his mind correctly. But before that happens, Key has to say something about the Yankees, because we were talking about baseball there.
It's hard to talk about, but the Yankees really stepped up to the plate to be the first team to take a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. It's a big one. This is something that I'm going to remember the Yankees for the rest of my life, personally. It was such a class act.
Yeah, 100%.
Dan was talking that the Blue Jays haven't, or maybe it was Jacob, that they haven't done enough to support the military. It's time to step up to the plate, Jays. Swallow your pride, whatever you need to do. And I think every team needs to take a moment of silence, but I think they need to not make it about their ego and just take a moment of silence. It's so important.
Well, I agree, and it even doesn't have to be about politics. I think in any type of shooting of an innocent bystander in a public place, simply how enormous silence. It's not about picking sides or picking colors at this point. These are human lives.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, a human life is very precious, and it's always so tragic when a human life is taken too early. And I mean, it's one of those things that, however you view the world, it's important to remember that open dialogue and open debate is very important.
Yep.
And let's not have any more lives lost. So I think that's a perfect way to end the show, and big ups on, teams that are taking these moments to reflect. But thank you very much for watching the Streakers On podcast. We will be back. Don't worry. I know you're going to miss us, but we will be back. So
download that Streakers app.
Download the Streakers app. I'm the self-proclaimed sports analyst, joined by Key and Mr. More for Your Money.
Woo!
See everyone later.
Bye-bye.